I want to hear cannons. Downfield, pull up, ball to the 5, touchdown Tampa Bay. Mike Evans does it again. Fire the cannons, Bucs.
It's first and goal. That's picked off. That's picked off. And who else? Rondé Barber. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may ride to the Super Bowl with that one.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Those up with the head. Intercepted. 30. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25. 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Hello and welcome back, Bucs fans, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. It's been a long time. It feels like it's been a lot longer than it has, but the last time we talked to you guys was a little over a month ago. May have even been longer than that. Evan, did we do a show at all in the month of June?
I don't believe so. Yeah, it's been about a month and a half, probably.
It really has. And, we told you that this was coming on the last episode. This was the time of year that we like to refer to as the dark ages, if you will, I guess, Just not a lot of football going on. You get organized team activities a couple of weeks after the draft. You get rookie mini camp, mandatory camp. You get a good look at the shortened T-shirt workouts as the guys are back in the facility working out together. But then you head back into the time period that we are finally just now getting to the very end of. There is a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to football activity, and that is the start of NFL training camp. We are a little under 2 weeks away from the start of Tampa Bay Buccaneers mini camp. I believe the first day they report is July 24th. So literally just under 2 weeks. We are back with a new and improved episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host from BucsNation.com, Evan Wanish. I wish we had more to talk about today, but honestly, the fact that we have enough to talk about to form a show here just warms my heart as, again, we count down the days till we get back to Buccaneer football.
Yeah, and like you said, it's coming up, soon enough we'll be talking about, a preseason game. But yeah, right now, like you said, we're right at the end of that period where there's just not a lot going on. Like you said, they do the OTAs and then they basically have 6 weeks where it's nothing. So yeah, I mean it's always a difficult time, but we appreciate you guys sticking with us, of course. And we did not go anywhere. We are back now, and we'll slowly trickle in. Our coverage for this season won't be full blown yet. That's coming, but consider this the not preview episode, but sort of the soft reboot almost. So yeah, but you are right. We still do have some stuff to talk about today. I mean, unfortunately, the biggest thing is not a positive, but it is news, so we are here to cover it.
Yeah, as you alluded to, I wish we had a little more positive news to open up our first show in a couple of months here, but it is important for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2025 season nonetheless. News broke last week. The Buccaneers left tackle Tristan Wirfs will likely be placed on the physically unable to perform list to start the 2025 season. Really, expectations as of right now are at least the first 3 or 4 games here for the Buccaneers' big left tackle. He recently underwent an arthroscopic procedure on his right knee, and he is expected to miss training camp and the entire preseason slate. Players who are on the PUP list are permitted to participate in team activities other than practice. Additionally, those on PUP are still considered a part of the active roster. So, the elephant in the room now becomes backup left tackle Charlie Heck. And we know that the Buccaneers moved on from Justin Skule, who is now Justin Skull up in Minnesota, if I am not mistaken. And Charlie Heck, who initially was brought in to kind of be a replacement swing tackle of sorts, is now slated to be your starter week 1. And I got to tell you, without dragging the guy through the mud, sample size is everything. But when you do look at the PFF grades on Charlie Heck, they definitely don't sound like something Bucs fans want to hear right now for your proposed starting left tackle. Out of 140 eligible tackles in the NFL in 2024, Charlie Heck was ranked 134 with a 41.2 overall grade on PFF. His pass block grade was a 47.8, which ranked 116th, and his run block grade was a little bit worse, a 40.8, ranking 139th out of 140 eligible tackles. Now, again, as I mentioned, sample size is very important here. Heck only started the last 2 games for San Francisco last season, played in those games. I think he wasn't even on that team for the entire year. He played somewhere else for the first half of the 2024 season. He is a bit of a journeyman already in his NFL career, but I'm just going to ask you straight up here, Evan, looking ahead to week 1, I know we still have training camp in the preseason yet to go, but are the Bucs going to do anything to address the left tackle position? Are they looking to sign anybody from outside the team, or is it really just going to come down to maybe a training camp battle and the best man will win?
I would think right now it would be Charlie Heck's job to lose. I don't foresee the Buccaneers adding anyone from the outside. I know there's been a few names thrown around there, but I don't really foresee that. Charlie Heck does. I mean, yes, he only started 2 games last year, but in his career, he has 23 career starts. Most notably in 2021 with the Houston Texans when he started 13 games. Now, he did start those 13 games at right tackle, not left tackle, but I'm sure he's able to work both sides there. And I do think it could be a scenario where, and this is one silver lining, right? As this news coming out now, the Bucks basically have all of training camp and all of the preseason to get Charlie Heck adjusted to playing left tackle in this particular system. And if they look at it and they're like, man, this is just simply not going to work, they can go out and add somebody, right? But luckily they don't have to do that mid-season. Because you're going to get an extended look, and Charlie Heck is going to be with the starters now. Like, he's most likely going to be with the ones. So it's not like you're just throwing him to the wolves and saying, hey, I know you haven't played with any of these guys before along the offensive line, but here you go. No, you're going to be able to build that, that chemistry a little bit better here, because he's going to be getting the reps from day one. I think the thing with Tristan Wirfs is and my biggest concern is you hope this doesn't linger. You hope this is kind of, nipped in the bud now. So basically what it was is, he wore the brace or whatever at OTAs, did some light work at OTAs. And there was not really much concern. The Bucks pretty much said it was pretty much a precaution, but uh, then he had the procedure to go in and just clean up some stuff in his knee. And I guess when they looked, they found some additional damage that was likely going to sideline him a little bit. So he's out at minimum the first 4 games if the Bucks do officially put him, on the PUP list. You're just hoping that's 4 games. Like that's what my hope is, that this doesn't linger into 5 games, 6 games, 7 games. And even if it does, let's say it takes 5 games, okay, he comes back. I don't want to hear in week 10, week 11, oh, Tristan Wirfs is questionable for this week because of his knee. Like, I don't want this to be something to linger, so I'd like it to get taken care of now. Like, if he has to miss some time, but like his knee is 100% the rest of the year, okay, but like that's not something that I want to keep having to deal with and manage throughout the entire season. So now, yeah, you come back to Charlie Heck, and the Bucks signed him this offseason. He is essentially the Justin School replacement, right? It's a 1-for-1 swap pretty much. Uh, and I do think that while I would have kept Justin School over Charlie Heck, I do think Twitter in particular, and look, sometimes Twitter can be an interesting place, but I do think they are somewhat being a little bit too hard on Charlie Heck. Like they're acting like, they wouldn't have batted an eye if he was the backup, but now that he has to be thrown as a starter, it's, oh my God, you gotta sign this guy, and they're acting like Tristan Wirfs is gonna be out for the season, right. When like he's not, he's not. At least you hope he's not. But Josh Capo of Pewter Report actually tweeted out something the other day that I found interesting. I said Justin School's pressure rate allowed on true pass sets prior to 2024 was 16.7% over 138 reps. Which I mean, look, in 2024, Justin School, aside from the Detroit game, was pretty good for the Bucks, right? Did a pretty decent job. In 2024, School had a 12.3% a rate allowed over 73 reps. Compare that to Charlie Heck, and Charlie Heck actually has a career. Now, this again isn't last year, but for his career, it's 13.0% in similar situations. So the numbers actually are quite similar to what Justin School did last year. Now, Charlie Heck did struggle a bit last year. Like you did say, it is a small sample size, and he bounced around a little bit. Started the season with the Cardinals, ends up with the 49ers. Um, and that can be a little bit hectic, for a guy, moving teams mid-season and stuff. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think the Buccaneers are as well. I don't think it's the end of the world. Obviously, it's not a good thing, right? You could argue Tristan Wirfs is the Bucs' best, not even offensive player. You could argue he's the best player overall on the team. He's that important to them. So they're definitely going to miss him. I mean, I'm not trying to say, oh my God, this offense is going to be running no problem. Like, no, there's going to be some issues, I think. But I also think that one, having the whole training camp and preseason to get the team adjusted and Charlie Heck adjusted to playing in this role. And also, I think fans are overreacting a little bit and think like Charlie Heck is like the worst tackle of all time when I think they could probably do a little bit worse.
People are ready to call up Donovan Smith and see
Oh,
what
I
he's doing
know.
this
I
fall.
know.
You've seen it going around. To kind of follow up with what you said as well, taking a look at how the rest of this offensive line is going to be affected, going to be a lot of eyes on the tight ends early on in this season.
Yeah.
Going back to Josh Capo, another good example here. He posted a film highlight from the San Francisco game, and he said it tracks logically, but when Tristan Wirfs went out last year, Cade Otton spent an inordinate amount of time on the left side of the offensive line, giving Justin Skule an extra split second to deal with the likes of Nick Bosa. So, looking at these first 5 games of the regular season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's just assume worst case scenario, you're missing Wirfs for 5 games. You open up with Atlanta, go to the Texans, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Seahawks. Truthfully, I think Philly is the most imposing defensive line of all of those teams that I just mentioned. But regardless, I know this is kind of like making the best out of a bad situation, but one, I'm happy that Wirfs got the surgery. I'd rather him get it now than halfway through the season or have aggravated it during the season and played through injury because, like, as you mentioned, he means a lot to this organization. That's a franchise guy. And the last thing you want to do is have him playing through any uncomfortable situations. But if there's 5 games on this schedule, if there's a stretch of 5 games that I want Wirfs to miss, that might be the most favorable one, especially when you consider stacking up NFC South games towards the end of the season and then a couple of those stretches that they have during the midway point. I mean, again, making the best out of a bad situation. I don't want to find any silver lining in having your starting left tackle miss a few games, but if you'd have him miss any games this year, these seem like the ones that you'd kind of want.
Yeah, I think Atlanta week 1, you're gonna have a lot of, Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., right? So you're gonna have some rookies, they'll be getting adjusted. Week 2 versus Houston might be a problem.
Yeah.
I actually think, yes, I think Philly has the best defensive line out of those teams that you mentioned. But I think in terms of edge rushers, I think it's probably Houston. They have Will Anderson on one side and Daniil Hunter on the other side. So that could be an issue. And just like, you allude to, like the Bucks last year, like a lot of times when, Luke Gedeke was out, like they would have Cade Otton sort of chip and help out, the tight ends. Obviously, Liam Cohen isn't here anymore. It's a different offensive coordinator, but I imagine it's going to be something kind of similar, right? Like I imagine they're going to try and have those tight ends help out a little bit on that left side there. So I do think Houston week 2, especially on the road, might be a little bit of a challenge. And then the Jets have some pretty good pass rushers as well, but yeah, I mean you're not facing a gauntlet per se, and I mean when you get later in the year and you have the Bills and Rams back to back, you play the 49ers in a little bit, so yeah, I mean you do have some challenges, and like you said, you finish up the year with a lot of NFC South opponents where we figure those games are probably going to be pretty darn important. I don't think any team in the NFC South is going to be in a position where, oh, the last 3 games in December don't matter because the division's wrapped up. Like, I don't really think that. So I think that those games are going to be pretty important. And that's when, like, yeah, you want your guys to be 100% healthy. And I know there were some people that were complaining about, well, why couldn't he have gotten this a month ago, right? And maybe he doesn't have to miss 4 games. Sure, but I also think if the Bucks knew that he was going to potentially miss games, they would have gotten it done sooner. They didn't know it was a cleanup. They were surprised by it. So this wasn't something that they expected to have happen. My guess is they probably said, "All right, yeah, you'll get the knee cleaned up about 2 weeks before training camp. You might miss a little bit of camp. We might not play in the preseason, but you'll be good for week 1." Instead, it's, oh yeah, he's going to miss some time. So. I think there's a lot of fans that are, and I get it, right? It is frustrating because you're like, well, why couldn't this have just been taken care of, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, and then he would have no issues, starting the season. I do get it, but I also think it's kind of something that surprised the Bucks a little bit. So when you talk about the first 4 or 5 games, yeah, I do think that there's going to be challenges, but like you said, I also think it's not like, oh my God, they're playing this guy and then they're playing this guy and then they're playing this guy. How are they going to do this? I think there are ways. Again, we talked about the Detroit game last year. They play Detroit again this year, coming up, shortly earlier in the season, kind of. I think it's week 7 or week 8. So, I think it's week 7 actually. But you play Aiden Hutchinson again, most likely, assuming he's back, from injury. Yeah, you're gonna want your guys to be 100% for those types of matchups.
Yeah, and then obviously another thing that you had mentioned as well, the presence now of a new offensive coordinator, the uphill battle for Josh Grizzard. It is a
Hmm.
lot easier to game plan and script your offense in the early goings if you have a full deck of talent. And moving from one position group to another, wanted to talk a little bit about the wide receiver room. But yeah, Josh Grizzard, first year offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going to be headed into week 1 without his starting left tackle and possibly without Chris Godwin as well. Kind of interesting. Wanted to get your take on where Chris Godwin is to start the season. There's been a lot of discussion. He was out there working out at OTAs with his trainer, still rehabilitating that ankle from his season ending injury just a year ago. I would, and this is just me. I can't speak for anybody else. Everybody certainly has their own opinion on the Chris Godwin thing, but I wouldn't be entirely shocked if Chris Godwin misses the first 2 or 3 games as well. And the Buccaneers are short in the wide receiver department there. How do you feel about Godwin's injury? This kind of follows a trend where these guys get contract extensions in Tampa Bay and then unfortunately they miss time. And unfortunately, it's been happening a lot. I'm not jumping to any conclusions here. I'm just solely asking your thoughts on Chris Godwin, his availability for week 1, and what you ultimately think that wide receiver room is going to look like. We don't have to entirely get into training camp battles. We will eventually. But right now, Chris Godwin's still kind of up in the air.
I don't think the Bucks are gonna rush him. I think they don't have to. It's not like it's, oh my God, it's Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and then nothing. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of options. So there's a lot of scenarios that they can do. Yeah, I mean, they literally picked the wide receiver 19th overall, right? Like Emeka Ibuka was a top 20 pick. They've invested a lot in this guy. And they have Jalen McMillan who flashed last year. A lot of people didn't even think they needed to get a wide receiver at all in the draft because of a guy like Jalen McMillan. So I don't think the Bucks are going to be rushing Chris Godwin back. I think it's a scenario where they'd rather see him as healthy as possible. Um, could he miss a couple games because they're not rushing him back? Potentially. Like it wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't expect him to do too much in training camp. I definitely would not expect him to play in any of the preseason games. But yeah, I mean, if his status for week 1 is kind of up in the air, it wouldn't particularly shock me. Because I don't think the Bucks want to just rush him back because again, they don't really need to. And I mean, like yeah, having Chris Godwin at this point, like re-signing him. Like we talk about, oh, Emeka Ibuka was a luxury pick and stuff like that. Re-signing Chris Godwin was almost a luxury signing.
Well, when you
Because
consider the amount of money he turned down from New England, too, I mean,
sure,
that is the definition of a hometown deal.
yeah, I mean, and look, whether it was smart to give Chris Godwin that money and then still draft a wide receiver top 20, that's not the point, right? That's not what we're talking about right now. But I mean, look, if Chris Godwin misses some time, let's say he misses a little bit more time, right? Let's say he misses 4 or 5 games. Mike Evans isn't getting any younger, and he's been prone to miss a couple of games, right? Like he's most likely not going to play in all 17 games, right? It's been a little bit. Again, he's another year older. It's been a minute since he's played in every single game. So, he played 14 games last year. Um, and I'm not saying he's gonna miss long time, but most likely, Jalen McMillan also got banged up, last year for a couple of games. So having a Mecca Ibuka there, having Mike Evans already in the fold to start the season, I just I don't really have many concerns about Chris Godwin for this season, right? But I also think they want to make sure that he is the best he can be. And I think in order to do that, he may have to miss a game or two, but hey, if they feel he's ready to go, he's gonna be out there, right? It's not gonna be like they're, oh my God, we feel he's ready to go, but he was injured last year, so we gotta keep him out. No, if they think he is 100% good to go, he'll be out there. But I also don't think they're gonna be like kind of pressing the issue because they just don't have any wide receiver depth. They have plenty of it.
Yeah, and truthfully, to add on to that point, I think the presence of Emeka Ibuka, not to put a lot of pressure on the rookie, but I think it even more amplifies the lack of urgency they have with Chris Godwin. I mean, obviously they want him to be back in the lineup, but as you said, they don't want him back in the lineup unless he is good as good can be. And Chris Godwin, being a natural competitor, I'm sure that he's going to want to play. I'm sure he's going to be biting to play. And maybe we see him out there a little sooner than the trainers would say he's ready. That's a discussion that they're going to have to have. We don't get paid to have those discussions. But regardless, I think the presence of Ibuka makes this offense just a hell of a lot easier to manage when you are potentially down Chris Godwin and Mike Evans at some point this season. Now, Mike's going to play until he can't, right? Until that one game comes in this season where maybe he's a little bit banged up. Maybe he's got to take some time off, but it's okay because you have such a talented wide receiver room behind him. And I mean, wide receiver has been a luxury, it seems like, aside from the regular season snafus with injuries. Whenever the Bucs are headed into training camp for the last decade or so, they have done it with a stacked wide receiver room, and that
Really,
hasn't changed.
ever since they drafted Mike Evans,
Right.
I mean, because when you had Mike Evans, then you still have Vincent Jackson there. I mean, really, like I said, ever since they've drafted Mike Evans, you haven't really had many questions about who your top two receivers are. And now, I mean, yeah, there's been a few years where like, man, like they're stacked. It's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Deshaun Jackson and Adam Humphries and stuff like that. But now it's, even more, right? Because now, I mean, you can go 4 or 5 deep, and now to where like they may actually have to cut a guy who's going to be picked up maybe pretty quickly by another team because they just simply don't have the room.
Yeah, and the one thing with Ibuka as well, he has been featured in the past as a slot wide receiver. So with
Yeah,
as much as
that
Liam,
helps. That
yeah,
helps.
with as much as Liam Cohen liked to target Chris Godwin out of the slot last year, he was off to a blistering start in the 2024 season. Arguably the most productive Buccaneers receiver that first half of the season before his injury. I'm excited to see not only the rookie step in and step up, but see how Josh Grizzard as a new offensive coordinator can handle these challenges. I think in the long run, that's going to make him better. I think by the end of the season, he's going to have been through more situations and adjusted this lineup maybe a little more than he would have initially been comfortable with, but it's
I'm
almost
sure.
like trial by fire, right? Let's see this guy come up with a game plan here and adjust things accordingly.
Well, that's the other thing with Wirfs, really quick before we move on completely. That's another we talk about. Oh, Charlie Heck got the chance of this. Like Josh Grizzard though has a chance to
Yeah.
form his offense and his play calls and how he wants to do things around the idea that Tristan Wirfs isn't there. So he doesn't have to, oh my God, I thought I was gonna have Wirfs this whole time and this and that. Now I don't. No, like you're not. So like you can spend the entire time in August and in training camp and just trying different things out in the preseason games. You can spend your whole time. All right, if we have this tight end chip here, this and that, okay. Well, what if we do this with our run blocking? What if we do this with our pass pro? Like that'll help too. So yeah, I do think while like you said, I'm sure in an ideal world, first time he's an NFL offensive coordinator, calling plays. I'm sure he would much rather have, Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin 100% healthy. But I do think in the long run, it could make him better, sure, because it does allow, it forces him. It doesn't even allow him. It forces him to get more creative. And I do think that in the case of Chris Godwin / Emeka Ibuka, I do think it helps that Ibuka is quite similar in not we're not saying he's Chris Godwin, right? Like I'm not saying that he's Chris Godwin right out of the gate, but play style wise, they're very similar players. So I think that helps as well. Anything that you want Chris Godwin to do for the first 2 or 3 games, Emeka Ibuka might be able to do it. Maybe not at the same level, but he might be able to do some similar things.
Yeah, and if he's more heavily featured in this offense in the early going, that's just another prime opportunity for him to get acquainted with the rest of this offense, and more importantly, his quarterback and Baker Mayfield. I'd love to see them build that relationship up early on. That way he can become a dependable target throughout the rest of the season when the Buccaneers are hopefully back up to full strength in that wide receiver room. Shorter show today. We are going to wrap it up with a fun topic. And, buddy, I have been waiting for this one for a very, very long time. Actually,
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
hold
And
on.
anybody who listens to the show knows that Rhett is a big uniform
I'm a
guy.
uniform snob, is what they call. I got to put my business hat on here.
There you go.
Very important business here to be discussed. But the Buccaneers have been teasing something, Evan, and a lot of people assume that what they've been teasing is an alternate uniform. But it isn't just an alternate uniform like the rest of these other B teams have been rolling out. You saw what the Saints did with their ugly-ass helmet. Looks like a McDonald's cup from the 1990s. The Buccaneers are working on something classy. The Buccaneers are working on something legendary, and they are working on something symbolic for the 50th anniversary of the franchise. As you know, this will be the 50th Buccaneer season. And from the sounds of it, my friend, nothing is confirmed 100%. July 15th, which is this coming Tuesday, is when they will confirm 100%. But there's been a lot of promo video with the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier. And a lot of it alludes to what happened 50 years ago. And I say all of this to really kind of build it up.
Are you saying they're going to go winless?
Right, yeah, exactly. That's what scares me the most about this prospect, is that it isn't exactly a legacy of success in these alternate uniforms. But yes, if you can pick up what I'm putting down, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been teasing and hopefully will be revealing a white alternate creamsicle uniform to be worn at their home opener against the Jets in Raymond James Stadium. Now, the NFL changed the rules recently to allow teams to have more than one throwback game a year, which is interesting, right? They also changed the rules a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, to where now you can have like throwback alternates. I don't know if that's part of the deal.
So I think it's some with the helmets too. You can have
Right.
different helmets and stuff.
You can
so,
have,
yeah.
So before it was the helmet rule. That was what we were
Yeah.
waiting a decade and a half for. They finally updated it to where teams can have multiple helmet colors if they want different alternate uniforms. And now there's some other bylaw about adding an extra alternate. But all of that to say that, yes, the white creamsicles may or may not be on their way. I want to lean towards yes, because if this doesn't end up being the white creamsicles, Evan, I feel like that is a surefire way to piss off 100% of the fan base, because 99.9% of us believe that this is the white creamsicles. This is what we've been waiting for.
I would be shocked if it wasn't. I mean, like I said, they're teasing Bucko Bruce a lot. There's no other thing it can really be, in my opinion. I mean, if they try and get cute and do a reimagined, white
no
creamsicle,
way.
like no, like just go, like just do what you do with the creamsicles and just make it that.
Yeah.
We'll see if they have better success. Now, I don't believe the Bucks have ever done this. They have never had a white creamsicle throwback, so this is going to be the first time ever. And also, we don't know if this is here to stay, if this is just a one season thing because it's the 50th anniversary. We don't know. But hopefully, if they do unveil them, hopefully they have more success in those than they have in the creamsicles ever since they brought them back. Even back to 2009, they still they won their first game in them and then like never won again. So yeah, I am excited. And again, we don't know. That's the rumor right now, is that it could be the uniform that they wear for the home opener against the Jets. week 3. So maybe we do have a date for when they are wearing the creamsicle uniforms. It's on prime time, which I don't love because to me it doesn't make the creamsicles pop as much, I guess, when it's at night. Like I just think like the
They
Florida sun, you get
yeah.
like that orange, like that haze kind of. Um, and now it's like kind of, I don't know, but they are wearing them. I believe it is week 15 on Thursday Night Football against the Atlanta Falcons in December or November, something like that. Let's see, it is
December 11th.
yeah, December 11th, yeah, 8:15 p.m., week 15 against the Falcons. So I believe the Buccaneers have confirmed that that is when they're wearing their creamsicles. But we do expect there to be some other game where the Bucs are not just wearing red and pewter; they are indeed wearing what we presume to be the white creamsicles. And the most logical spot for that is probably the Jets one. Still really want the Bucs and Seahawks to get together and do Seahawks throwbacks
Yeah.
when the Bucs are in Seattle versus those white creamsicles. But we'll see if that ends up happening. I doubt it will because teams aren't fun, but we'll see.
Wouldn't that be a nice surprise, though, if they just didn't mention anything to anybody and then both of those teams roll out? That's wishful thinking on my part. The NFL would never do anything that fun.
The NFL should do, you know how like the MLB does like the players weekend and
Yeah.
stuff and like the names on the back, you can get like a nickname and stuff like that or whatever. The NFL should do 1 week where if you have it, every team wears like a throwback. Like
Yeah.
the Eagles wear their Kelly Greens and like they're playing the whoever, right? They're playing the Falcons and the Falcons are wearing their old ones, or the Bucs are wearing the creamsicles, or the Bucs are on the road against Seattle, right? They're
Yep.
wearing the white creamsicles. Seattle's wearing them blue ones. That's what every team should do. Like New England, right? New England's doing the ones with they're either doing the red ones with the white helmet, or they're doing the one with that massive Patriot on the
Yeah.
side there. The NFL should do that. They should do 1 week a year where each matchup is like, again, if you have one, right? Like if the Texans or whatever, like I guess they could go back. I know it'd be a ton of work, but hey, it would be fun, and I think it would create a lot of excitement in the NFL. Like, oh my God, we get to look forward to week 6 because that's the throwback week. You're looking at all these teams, they're all wearing their throwbacks. That would be pretty fun, but I doubt that ever happens.
Well, and they've certainly done stuff like that before. That's the part that doesn't make it sound as far-fetched as some would like to believe. As I said before, the NFL, the no fun league, I can't imagine they ever have an idea this cool and follow through with it, but they've done it before. You remember the AFL legacy stuff where, all those teams in the AFC were celebrating, however, I think it was like a 50-year anniversary or something like that, and they all wore their throwback uniforms. Like, some of the most legendary Tom Brady performances in history were him wearing that red Patriots throwback.
That's a great jersey.
I'm telling you, it's an all-timer, and I think that
and the Patriots have brought them back, so it's
Yeah.
not like you don't need. A lot of these teams have brought the Eagles have brought the Kelly Greens back. The Patriots have brought those back. Like it's not like even like the Dolphins, they brought their throwbacks back. Like a lot of these teams have already brought them back. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to reinvent the wheel here. But yeah, it would be nice.
Man, I got to tell you too, just as a uniform snob, I deeply appreciate the revival, if you will, of this retro uniform look these teams are coming up with. I know alternates are alternates, and some teams get a little bit wacky. They get kind of out there with their redesigns, and that's okay. It took like Houston, when Houston revamped everything. It took me a little bit to come around to it, but I kind of appreciate what they're going for.
They're nice, yeah.
But it feels like a lot of teams are moving away from just a perfect example. Tampa Bay. This sums it up perfectly. Those 2014 era uniforms, just overcomplicated, the modern look. It comes off as amateurish arena football, and then they just change it back to what worked before. Cleveland did that too.
Yep.
I think more and more teams are starting to understand, at least from a marketing perspective, the importance of having a timeless look in the NFL. I like uniforms in college football. I like it when they change every week because I feel like it's a little more fitting for college football. But the NFL, the pinnacle of American football, my rule is that if you are a team in the NFL, You pick your uniform once, you design it once, and if it's good enough, you never change it again. Like the Packers. They're never going to change that uniform. And if they do, I'm sure that the fan owners would probably burn the place down. Like,
probably.
they should
sell their stock.
Yeah, they should never change those uniforms. And the Buccaneers learned from their mistakes. Back in 2020, they went back to what wasn't broken. They cleaned it up a little bit. They gave us a badass pewter alternate that maybe we'll never see again at this rate.
I believe has been quietly retired, I would say. Which is
sucks,
a bummer because I do like it.
Yeah, that kind of sucks because those were sweet. Those were unique, but it was just a good look that flowed with the rest of the NFL standard uniform. I like that teams are getting back to that, and I'm very excited to see it. But hopefully the Buccaneers will deliver. And I think the $1 million question here, truthfully, when it comes to the white creamsicles, is most people know this, but if you didn't, are they going to pick the orange numbers or the red numbers? Because for only one season, the Buccaneers in 1976 had their white creamsicles with orange numbers, red outline. After the 1976 season, they changed it over to red numbers with an orange outline. So, again,
I was going to say it was definitely going to be the red numbers with the orange outline, but the thing that gives me pause is the one that was the orange numbers was the first season.
Right. That's what I'm leaning towards. They're really, really putting the hammer down on this 50th season, 50 years of legacy.
I'll guess orange numbers.
Yeah. They got, they got the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier, doing promo videos for us. People are excited. I'm excited. Hopefully you guys are excited. And Evan, I don't want to speak for you, but I can say that we are both very excited. One, to be back in the saddle here, bringing you new content on the Cannon Fire podcast. But two, as I mentioned at the start of the show, man, less than 2 weeks away from Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp. And that's when a lot of the things that we talk about, these position battles that we hinted at, things are going to get down and dirty. And I am very excited.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you're going to start seeing, keep coming back to the YouTube channel, keep listening to us, wherever you listen to podcasts, but particularly on the YouTube channel, you'll start seeing more content. I'm going to be starting up sometime next week, going to be starting up the positional group previews. Do that pretty much every year. After the season, I'll do the positional group reviews. Now this time I'll do the positional group previews. I like to do it before training camp, before guys get cut, because it just gives an outline of like the entire roster basically. And obviously guys that we think are obviously not going to make the team, we won't spend too much time on, but stay tuned for that on the YouTube channel here. Those videos will be rolling out, like I said, starting next week, and then periodically we'll be leading up to basically the start of the season. But we're not back into the full swing of things yet, but like I said, consider this our soft launch basically. And it's hard to believe football's just around the corner, and we're actually going to have some legit stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we're back, man. I don't know if we've ever been more back than we are right now.
Yeah.
I know that we're still leading into it. I know that we still have some time left, but I'm just really excited to get back into the swing of things. It's a lot of fun putting out content here, and I'm just happy, man. It's a homely feeling. It's a familiar feeling that creeps in this time of year, and it gets me excited for the road ahead. This will be, just looking ahead, I know that we've mentioned it a few times as well on previous episodes, but 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. This will
almost celebrating 10 years.
This will be our 9th full season of coverage on the Cannon Fire podcast, which is kind of crazy to think about because
we are grizzled veterans.
I know, just a couple of boomers. We're gonna be phased out here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
But with all of that being said,
the future is now, old man.
Huh?
The future is now, old man.
Exactly.
Unplug our machine and let us go. But hey, we're still kicking. We're still kicking, and the Bucs are celebrating 50 this year. We'll be celebrating 10 next year. Hard to believe. Hard to believe. There's a lot of milestones in the air, right? There's a lot of milestones coming up. Which one is bigger? The Bucs celebrating 10 or the Bucs celebrating 50 or us celebrating 10? I'm not sure which one's bigger.
Well, you know what my mind automatically went to, and this still makes me laugh to this day. It was I don't remember if we were on just like a FaceTime call or if it was a text or something, but it was James' birthday.
Oh,
And
boy.
we were, happy birthday, James, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, yeah, man, the big 5-0, just without even skipping a beat. And so now in the back of my head, ever since then, James is like 54 by now,
Yeah,
if that's the timetable that we're going off of. So, yeah, Mr. Bucs Nation had his own 50th anniversary a couple of years ago.
Mr. Bucks Nation about to hit the speed limit this year.
I'm telling you.
Everybody on like November 14th or something. Go wish him a happy 55th birthday for me.
Hey, speaking of our good buddy, just moved into the 55 and up community over there in Largo, Mr. Bucs Nation. Go check out the latest episode of the Rondé Barber Show. We are actually taping one next week on July 16th. It'll be a Wednesday, but you can check out the previous episode. And on this month's Ask Rondé question, you can find the man himself, James Hill, a.k.a. Mr. Bucs Nation, addressing Rondé Barber directly and getting his thoughts on some top matchups for the Buccaneers in 2025. That's been a really cool experience as well. Make sure you guys go check that out, the Rondé Barber Show. With all of that being said, that's just about going to do it for today's episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and tuning in as always. You can find the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are at Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And, of course, Tampa Bay Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily. You can find him on Twitter at EvanNFL and check out his written work at BucsNation.com. I know we're kind of getting back into the swing of things here, some off-season content coming to an end, but you got anything in the hopper for BucsNation.com?
Yeah, going to be having a few more things to end off the offseason, which I don't want to spoil for here exactly because they sort of intertwine with each other with the YouTube channel and Bucs Nation. But in terms of actual for like the upcoming season, gonna have a couple articles, about like potential breakout players, or I always do one about training camp battles to watch. Which of course, we'll cover probably our next episode. We'll do a full training camp preview on here. But yeah, a lot of good stuff coming up on BucsNation.com, and just like here, gearing up for the regular season.
Absolutely. Last but not least, you can find myself on Instagram and Twitter at Rhetticus, RHETT, If you follow me, I will follow you back. But that's the show. We will see you guys
I want to hear
sometime
cannons.
soon. Let me turn the intro audio off there. New broadcast software, if you couldn't tell, really rebuilt the show from the ground up. So getting into the hang of things is we kind of figure out how this stuff will work and continue to work, getting ready for the 2025 season. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish. We will see you in the next one. Until then, and as always, thank you for listening, and go Bucs.